Hey, bestie.
Hey guys, we got two bestie homeschooling mamas coming at you. This is Gail.
And I'm Christina.
And we have a super fun episode for us homeschooling mamas. We're going to talk today about unconventional subjects.
Yes, we are.
Take it, Chris.
Okay, so today we are diving into the unique school subjects you can teach at home as a homeschooler. One of the greatest benefits of homeschooling is the flexibility that it gives you to step outside of the standard curriculum, right? To explore topics that truly prepare your kids for the real world. By incorporating subjects like life skills, entrepreneurship, coding, critical thinking, world cultures, you can foster creativity, problem solving, and independence, which we've talked about before is so important, right? Skills that will serve your kids for a lifetime. So let's explore how you can bring these exciting and practical subjects into your homeschool.
I love it.
Yes.
I think a lot of times we get so caught up on homeschooling needing to look so much like school.
Yes.
Right. And so you need to do math and reading and handwriting and history, but that it needs to be just like the way they do it there. And that's so not the case.
It isn't. And those things are so important, but all of these other things are important too.
They are. And I think it gives them a more well-rounded education because education as kids shouldn't just be subjects.
Right.
And unfortunately, when we send them to the public school system, that's all they're getting. And then they're getting social like norms that we don't really want them to learn, right? So we need to teach them these unconventional subjects ourselves, the way rooted in our values.
Absolutely.
That we're wanting our families to learn. So
absolutely,
we're first going to talk about life skills. It's a subject, y'all.
It is.
And if you don't teach your kids how to do them when they launch, they won't have any idea how to be a grown-up. And I'm not saying that your kid has to be your maid, or they have to be your cook, or they have to be your things, right? But incorporating them in all of those things is how they learn how to do those life skills and starting it early.
Another thing to remember too is that if you're not a homeschooler and your kids go to public school or charter, whatever, all of these things that we're going to talk about are things that your kids need to learn too. So
they're still important.
Yes.
And they're not going to learn them at school.
Right. So if you're listening and you're not a homeschooler, these are for you too.
Yeah, these are just as important. You just have to you have a shorter time frame during the day to fit them in. Right. So let's talk about why life skills matter. We're going to talk about the life skills that empower the kids to navigate through that child or that adulthood confidently. So making dinner, I think, is a huge one, right? Or meal planning or grocery budgeting, those kinds of things. I remember when my daughter moved out last summer and she would text me, she'd be like, Mom, I made this tonight. And so you knew that she was making my recipe, right?
That's the best. I hope my kids do that.
So much fun. She's like, I made this green chili verde tacos tonight, or, the enchiladas, or the things we used to make. Not often, but the things that meant a lot to her, she started making them in her own home. And that was like, oh, I taught her that. Right. So the things you're going to be teaching and we're going to be talking about here in these life skills is going to be cooking, the meal planning, nutrition, grocery budgeting, financial literacy. Oh, Lord Jesus, please teach your children this. Please teach your children this. My husband and I did not get taught this as kids, and we taught ourselves through our 20s, and it was terrible and hard and unfortunate and lots of growing, right? And then home maintenance. Oh, my Lanta, your kids need to know how to use tools.
Let them help you. Yeah. They can do it.
Even if they're girls.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Car maintenance too.
Yeah. My dad taught me how to, well, he didn't teach me. He showed me how to change brakes when I was younger. I didn't have a car until I bought my own when I was 18. So it's not like I had something to work on, but I've always been pretty handy. So like when we have to change out our dishwasher recently, we had to do that. Landon and I did that together. Right. And when, the garage needs to be gone through, or we need some caulking done in the bathroom or something, or drywall fixed. Like, I'm not afraid to go and do those things. I wasn't necessarily taught those as a kid either, but I'm kind of a girl that'll just go for it anyhow. So, but if you teach your kids when they're small, they're going to have a lot more confidence going into those things when they get older, and you're not there to hold their hand.
Yeah.
Right. So what you want to do is make sure that when you're doing the things that they're right there with you. And Absolutely. It doesn't have to be every single time. They're not going to be interested in the grocery budget like you are,
But they'll appreciate it
right
when they have their own grocery budget that
exactly.
they have to.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, but showing them every couple of months or several times a year is going to help them understand. And then as they get older, 15, 16, 17, making them in charge of like making the grocery list mm-hmm. and are we inside of the budget kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It can be very helpful as they are learning to get ready to launch. Because especially as homeschoolers, sometimes they're done with school sooner than later. And so you want them to be ready a little bit mm-hmm. sooner. So, but start when they're young. And if they're already older, you haven't done anything wrong. Please hear my heart. You haven't done anything wrong. Just start now. Mm-hmm. Just start now. So some activity ideas is you could host a life skills thing with your homeschool group or your friends or whoever, where the kids can plan and execute some of these things, like cooking a family meal, planning it, what they're going to buy at the grocery store, looking through grocery ads, those kinds of things, or managing a small household project. Like, oh, we do need to change out the dishwasher. Let's go online and see what might be the highest reviews for the least amount of money. Because even if you have the money, you keep money by keeping your money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People are rich because they are bargain shoppers. Let me tell you. Okay. So it's okay to bargain shop. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong.
Your kid is not going to launch with lots of money.
Exactly.
I mean, most of us don't, right? So even if things aren't tight for you right now, mm-hmm. they need to learn and understand
what it's going to look like on a college
budget. What it's going to look like. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That you don't just get the best of the best right out of the gate.
And I think that's important. My husband, I think he struggled with that, was not having what his parents had right when we got married. Mm-hmm. Like having that financial security. His parents had been married, I think, only about 5 or 10 years longer than us. But, they had been together longer. They're older than us by 16 years and things like that. So they had a little bit more time to start prepping things. And so I think the hardest thing for him was, wait, what do you mean we don't have that kind of money? And I'm like, well, we're 20 and they're in their late 30s. So it's very different. And so I think that was difficult. So explaining that to your kids too, mm-hmm. that when you launch, this is what your budget's going to look like, mm-hmm. and how can we fit what you need inside of that budget? Mm-hmm. I did that with my daughter last January. When she was thinking about moving out, I was like, okay, it's January, it's a new year, whole year ago. And I said, let's sit down and let's budget out what rent might look like right now, which it was crazy high because, mm-hmm. Bidenomics was working. And then, we went down the rent, we went through utilities and internet and all the things. And we said, okay, at the bare minimum, you have to make this amount of money per month in order just to live outside of our house. Now let's talk about what you need for needs, wants, everything outside of your four walls. And so that's such an important conversation. Mm-hmm. And I please have it with your children.
And have it early enough that they don't get to the point where they are ready to move out and they want to move out, but they haven't thought through that. Right. So,
and we made sure she had an emergency fund before she moved out. Right. Like, so we're Dave Ramseyers mm-hmm. in our household. Mm-hmm. And we do own one credit card in our life. Dave Ramsey would probably kick my butt, but we do. We have one, and it's just for when we travel so that we're not using our debit cards. I hate having my numbers out there when I'm traveling. And so we have one credit card, but we don't but we don't buy anything unless we have the cash for it, right? So we taught her, you have to have your $1,000 emergency fund. And then you have to have, your 3 to 6 months emergency fund. And then, and she has no bills. She doesn't own any credit cards, any of those things. And when we told her she wanted to start building her credit for when they want to buy a house and all of those things, I was like, go get one of those protected credit cards that you put money on and can use, but it's like a credit reporting. And she's like, oh, okay. I think I can do that. So, there are ways to build your credit as a young person without actually having to go out and spend credit, right? Also, if you are a Costco Visa holder and you have a business that your Costco Visa is on and your child is over 18, you can add them to that Costco Visa and you're paying the bill, but they're getting the credit boost too. I don't know if you know that, but you can.
I have heard that before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a way to help them build it without them having to buy anything because you don't want to set them up for failure. But these are, in my opinion, some of the biggest life skills that a lot of kids go into the real world without.
Not knowing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So having those life skill classes with your homeschool group, I think has been super important. How long ago did you guys start those? It was like 2 years ago, right?
It's been, I think this is the second year.
I don't think it was there that first year we were in.
Yeah.
And so I'm hosting a reading a map class this next month. And I'm hosting a budgeting class the next month. And again, it's for any ages. I mean, obviously your 5 and 6 year olds are not going to understand, but our homeschool group is, I think the parents know kind of who needs to know what, but like in my maps class, I'm hoping to show a paper map in case they don't have an electronic with them or it's died. You can stop at a gas station and get a map kind of thing. But I'm also going to show them how to use electronic maps too, because that's just the world we live in, right? So you show them the things and you can show them in a group. It makes it a lot funner for them.
It does. They enjoy it more because it's, but it's still us directing
right
what they're learning.
Right.
So it really is a fun way for them to learn all the different things. We've done things that are like wrapping presents. We did that one around Christmas time. What a fun thing. Is it something they have to know how to do? But is it something that they should know how to do?
Right.
Yes. So, all the way from ironing to wrapping presents to writing checks.
The check writing and registers are less used by people, but I'm telling you right now, Rocket Money exists because people don't know how to balance their registrar. I still balance the registrar every 2 weeks when we do our paycheck. I balance the registrar. So I make sure what's in my bank account is in my registrar. And that's because I want to preempt that paycheck, right? I want to see what it's going to look like when it comes out.
Yep.
And I think when you don't do that, you don't know what's being spent on your card. And that's why things like that Rocket Money app exists, because people are paying for subscriptions 3 or 4 times for something with different emails that they have no idea they've signed up for because no one's looking at their checking account.
Which is crazy to me.
It's nuts to me, folks. So if you're one of those people that don't look at your bank account, or you look at it and you're like, oh, I have enough money in there for these bills, that's not good enough in my opinion. And don't teach your kids that because it's going to set them up for failure. They need to know a zero-based budget, guys.
Yep, absolutely.
So with these things, cooking, meal planning, nutrition, there is a really cool subscription box as we're talking about subscriptions. There's a really cool box called Radish Box that is super cool for kids. I didn't actually use it. Christina's used it, so I'm going to let her explain the details. But it sounds really neat in that it kind of just gives you the explanation on how to make a meal. It sounds like with some cool tools. So give us the details on that.
It is so fun. My kids absolutely loved it. We did it for several years. It was a gift from one of their grandparents. But basically, it's a box that comes in the mail, and it has a tool, and it has a laminated instructions on how to make 3 different things, usually like an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert.
So some recipes.
Yes, some recipes. And it's so good because the older kids can use it as well as the younger kids can use it, because it has pictures that identify what you need along with the words,
all the ingredients and all the instructions.
So my younger kids who weren't reading could still help create this meal. And every single one of my kids can make stuff in the kitchen. And a big part of that is because of this fun subscription that we had, because it got me comfortable with them cooking as well as them comfortable with cooking. So
That's
definitely
neat.
something to look into, just a fun recommendation that we have for one of those life skills that you can help them
maybe
learn.
you tell the grandparent next Christmas,
Yeah.
be like, hey, get them this subscription box for the year. And then you try it out for a year and see how much you like it.
Yeah.
You know, at least giving them a year. Okay, this year we're going to work on on cooking, you know, kind of thing. So I just think that these life skills are not being taught. And then we're throwing our kids to the wolves and they're drowning. And I think that's why we see so many kids nowadays who want to work for a lot of money for very few hours. They're like, I don't want to do that. How do I make the most money with working the least amount of time? And I think it's because they don't know how to have, they don't have any life skills. So it's very important,
So
guys.
important. So important.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about teaching our kids entrepreneurship. We've talked about this before. Y'all know how much we love it. But it really is important. Even if you're not an entrepreneur yourself, you can still teach your kids how to be. You can teach them the benefits of it so that if that's something that they lean towards, they can be successful in it. So it's super important to explain how this is important for them. It develops creativity, problem solving, and leadership skills are three of the main things that I think entrepreneurship teaches the kiddos.
Absolutely.
So make sure that there's fun books you can find that you can look at and learn about, things that you can teach them, the basics of running a business, things we all know, even if we don't do it ourselves. If they're going to make something and sell it, they have to figure out the plan of how much do I have to spend to get the items I need? How much time am I going to put into making this? And then how much can I sell it for? What is my profit going to be? Where can I sell it? How can I sell it? Things like,
does it solve a problem?
Does it solve a problem? Exactly.
Is it consumable? Because those are all important questions when you're talking about something you're creating to sell.
Yes. Is there going to be a market for what you're selling?
Right.
Are people going to come back and buy it again after they've bought it the first time? Will they need it again? All of those things are things that they have to think through. And guess what? Your kids can actually think through those things really, really easily.
Right.
They want to earn some extra money? Okay, let's do a lemonade stand. You can do that. Doesn't take a lot of work on my part, but they can process through, okay, I need to get the lemonade. I need to make the lemonade. I need to sell the lemonade. How much can I sell it for to make a profit? This is all things they can do.
Right.
At young ages.
Right.
So I would recommend with that, don't do the work for them. And don't pay for it for them. A lot of times, oh, well, here, I'll go buy the lemonade for you. You make it and sell it and then keep the money. No, they have to pay for the lemonade or pay you back for the lemonade.
Yeah.
So that they can see the real, if you just pay for it and then they get to keep all the money, they're not learning that they actually had to work for it.
Right.
Right.
Or that they had to pay for supplies before they sold the things.
Exactly. Exactly. Give them that full picture of what it's like so that they know when hey, maybe I do want to start my own business.
Right.
You want them to have a full understanding of what that's going to be like. Otherwise, they're going to struggle with that.
And I mean, if you're in a position like we do this with Corey, where we'll buy his soap base for him, and then out of his earnings from the fair, then he pays us back for the soap base, right? But we put that back into his soap business envelope, and he doesn't know that, right? So we put it into his envelope for when we need supplies later, you know? And so if you have the means,
absolutely,
put it somewhere that they don't know that you're saving it for them for when they do want to start a business, and be like, hey, we want to be partners, or, you know, whatever it is, but it can, or this is something you saved up by doing this hard work. We just saved it for you because we wanted to make sure you understood how this worked, or whatever you want to do with that thing. It can be done, and it's important. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And again, that piece of them understanding that there is a cost to what they are making, so that because otherwise they're going to sell it for, it doesn't matter what they sell it for.
Right.
To them, it feels like they made a profit.
Right. Well, and then they have to talk through like what kind of profit margin do they want? Is 15%, 20%, 40%? Like, there's markup on everything.
Yeah.
And so you have to decide what your profit margin is going to be. And then you have to do the math on that.
Absolutely.
Right. Like I have this really cool calculator that I use for my crafting business that gives me the price of the stuff, how much I want to be paid per hour, and then how long it takes me to put that product together, and then my profit margin. And it gives me like a cost, like a warehouse cost, and then a retail cost, so that I can see where the percentage of the profit margin comes in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a calculation, and that's part of, it's part of math. It's part of critical thinking. It's part of all the things.
Absolutely.
Leadership.
Absolutely.
Because they have to, if they have siblings helping and getting income for that, that's part of leading a team, which is super helpful.
It is. And another thing that's going to benefit your kids by doing something like this has nothing to do with money. But your kids are going to learn how to communicate with others. And that's a life skill that a lot of kids don't have anymore.
Oh, sure. That means so many kids are too busy on their phones. They don't actually know how to have conversation with somebody's face.
Right. But if they're making money because they're doing this business, they're going to start talking to anybody and everybody while they are working this business, right?
And the confidence grows from that.
Their confidence grows, their
creativity.
Absolutely.
Their like marketing brains can change. They can find love in marketing.
Absolutely.
Those kinds of things. So
it is really incredible to watch them grow as they continue to do it, especially if you can get them in like something that is consistent. There's a consistent entrepreneur fair that they can be a part of. Watching them grow over the years, even if they're not selling the same product. I've had kids that they've switched up their products multiple times, and I've had kids that they stick with the same thing, but they both have the same results. Their confidence, their ability to communicate and talk to others. It's incredible. It really is incredible to watch. So I out of all the things that we've done, I can't recommend that enough. And I know we've done a whole other episode on it, so I'll, So yeah, moving on. Help your children to create these small businesses, whether it be crafts or baked goods or offering some kind of a service. Have them scoop dog poop. That's a great one. These are definitely things that will benefit them. Another idea that they can do is do a pretend Shark Tank, which this idea I love, and we've never actually done it, but I love it so, so much. If you're familiar with Shark Tank, people go on there, they pitch their business and try to get investors. Why not? Your kid needs you to help buy the supplies that they're going to pay you back for, but why not have them pitch it to you?
I think to me, it feels like very much a DJ Tanner moment when she was trying to get her own room.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Right? From Full House.
Yeah.
When she was like, I need my own big girl room now. And here's my presentation as to why. Right? So it just, when you said that, as all I saw was her like poster boards.
I love it
of presentation.
so much. I love it so much. Awesome. Those are just some great ways to have your kids try this out. One recommendation I do want to give is have your kids, your older kids, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's actually a version that's written just for teens. I haven't actually read the teen one, but I do plan to have our teens read either that version or the original version. Yeah. The original book really made an impact on my husband and I when we read it, and just kind of the mindset along entrepreneurship and, gaining wealth. So great book. It's by Robert
Kiyosaki.
Thank you. Okay. She saved me there. Did you hear that? Awesome. Okay. So we're going to move on to another topic, and that is coding, preparing for the digital future. This one can be really intimidating, especially if you're like me, who is very tech illiterate. I'm not great with, and Gail is laughing here because she knows she does all our tech stuff. You know this. We've said it before. I am not great with technology, but because of that, I don't want our kids to struggle in that area because technology is everywhere.
That's where it's going.
It's everywhere, and it's just going to get more and more prevalent for them. So it is important for our kids to be technologically literate in today's world. So you can have your kids learn and do all kinds of things. There are basic programming languages like Python or Scratch. Scratch is geared towards younger kids. Python is a little more advanced. And I only know this because of my husband, not because of anything that I have ever done. But those are the things that our kids have worked with. They are a part of a coding club. Again, we came alongside with our community and got a group of kids together, and the few dads that have that programming background are teaching the kids programming.
Awesome.
And it's fun because they enjoy it. They get to be on their screens a little bit extra, which they love. It's teaching them how to develop games, how to create apps. This could be careers that they could go into, and they find that love in this environment while they're learning about it. So that's really important. Ethical hacking is another huge career path. Cybersecurity is super important. So that is just different areas that they could research more about. Again, you kind of have to have somebody that's technical. So if you're not, come alongside with your community, find somebody who is, and you can do this together without a lot of finances needed to make it happen. Yeah. So they just sit down, they play. It's amazing how quickly they will pick up on it. It's amazing everybody's different. Every kid is different. Some it's easier than others, right? But you'll know right away if they have that natural ability to see and work with code.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think too, when you're thinking about coding or you're thinking about digital future, you have to think about too those kids that are super artistic. And so maybe they're not a numbers person. Coding is a lot of numbers. It's O's and ones. But with your artistic kids who want that digital future, start teaching them how to do marketing on Canva or on using PowerPoints, creating those kinds of things, or learning how to do Excel spreadsheets and graphs and things like that on the computer, not just in our curriculum books, is so important.
It is.
It's so important because everything is going to be social media and digital enhanced. Yeah. So teaching them, if they're creative and they want to do like game design, it's a really hard market to get into, but you start young and you have no idea where they could go.
Absolutely. And there are colleges out there that have these programs that teach the kids how to, there are, this is people's careers.
Homeschool,
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually heard about this one company today from my husband. I believe it's a construction company. It's a Fortune 500 company, and they go through one of the community colleges here in the greater metropolitan area, and they will put them through the program for it's large mechanical repair. And then if they do well in the program, they could get a full-time job with this Fortune 500 company.
Wow.
And we were thinking about, chatting with them about homeschool credits and stuff for older teenagers, if that was the route they wanted to go, mechanics and stuff like that. But I just thought, how many programs are out there for these Fortune 500 companies where they are trying to teach and recruit these amazing kids who have the passion to do these things? And that's the fun thing about learning these life skills and these unconventional subjects, is they find stuff that they really, really love sooner rather than later.
Yes, absolutely.
And they don't go into their 20s being like, I have no idea who I am.
Or what I want to be when I grow up. Absolutely. Yeah. And you will see as your kids are trying out this thing or that thing, you're going to see what they're good at, what they excel at, and what they love.
What they enjoy, for sure. Yeah.
And that's so important. I
don't think we get enough of that. I remember going through the public school system myself and not having any clue what I wanted to go into college for. And so I didn't. No idea. I didn't want to spend the money if I didn't know where I was going to go. So I think that's really important.
That's better
for
than spending the money and not knowing where you want to go.
Well, I refuse to spend money and get a generic degree. But I think that's why these things are so important for our homeschool kids for sure.
Absolutely.
Like that's the point of giving them a more rounded education.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so make sure that if you want to try out the coding stuff, there are lots of different places that you can get different curriculums, or even the books. The Coding for Dummies is a good one too. For our kids, they have what are called Raspberry Pis. If you're not familiar with it, it's not a dessert, although I wish it was. It's just a little teeny tiny few inches by a few inches computer. Basically, it's just the brain of the computer that they can get, and they plug in the mouse and they plug in the keyboard and a screen, and you have a fully functioning computer, but you set it up. You get to start programming and, making it do all the fun things that computers do. So it is a really great learning tool for the kids as they start coding. So instead of going out and buying a fancy, expensive computer, go out and just buy this Raspberry Pi and let them build from there. Computer. Yeah, it's really cool. Neat. Really cool.
All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is going to be critical thinking, which in the last couple of things we've talked about, they all need. Yeah. Critical thinking is going to happen for everything you use. Mm-hmm. Developing analytical skills. I mean, as a freaking mom, every day, I have to critically think how I'm not going to let my kid kill himself jumping off the couch.
This is true.
It's a skill. You got to teach your kids. So why it's important is because critical thinking helps our kids to navigate information, make sound decisions. As I'm thinking about my kid jumping off the couch and breaking his neck, and solve problems creatively. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think, again, we have a lack of this in our world right now, especially in our young people. They don't know how to critically think for themselves. They believe anything that they're told on the media because they don't know how to critically go and research what their actual thoughts are and why what they're hearing might not be the truth, right? So we have to teach them these things. The way that we teach them that is by teaching logic and reasoning, which is solving riddles, learning logical fallacies, or even, it could be as simple as a game that is different shapes, and they have to logically think how they fit to make that square, right? That is still critical thinking.
Absolutely.
Right? And so when they're young, it's all going to be game based, but you're teaching them a skill that will go into a lot of different things.
And it's a skill that needs to be worked out, right? You can't just, I did some logical thinking games and now that part, check, that box is done. Right. Like you have to use that skill.
And you have to teach it at each age range, right? Because their frontal lobe is changing.
Yep.
And their thinking skills are changing. And when they're little, it's like, do I cross the street and get hit by the car or do I not? That's critical thinking, right? But then when they're 17, it's like, do I go to this party? Do I not?
Right.
How do I get my classes that I need to graduate? That's all critical thinking, right? So it could be a lot of different things that they are going through. Some things you can teach to help with that too is philosophy, which can be the Bible. In my opinion.
Should be the Bible.
Yes. But discussing big questions like what is justice? Or, with the inauguration going on and like, what are these things that they're signing? Or why did the things that the last administration not work, or what did work? These are all critical thinking skills that they should have and things that we should be the ones processing with them.
And I think that's something that my family growing up didn't do is these were conversations that adults had. So the adults had the conversations and the kids weren't included in those conversations. So adding the kids, bringing them into those conversations just because they're little doesn't mean they can't be a part of it. Obviously there's some topics that you're going to, steer clear of, but for the most part, politics, you can talk about these things with your kids in the room. You can include them in the conversation. You can let them ask questions and you can ask what their opinion is. Hey, what do you think about this? Why do you think
This way.
Mm-hmm. What does it say in the Bible about this particular topic?
Right.
Let's look that up.
Right. It's again, just a way for them as they get older to discern between right and wrong.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah.
And when we're not there to give them the answer, right? And we shouldn't be giving them the answer, especially as they get older. But that's what I'm saying. These critical thinkings are in different levels for different ages. And we need to give them all of those.
Absolutely.
Another one that's really good is debating skills.
It is so good.
I think that that's good too, because it helps you keep your emotions in check when you're debating somebody and your kids don't become Karens, right? Because you're helping to learn emotional regularity through debate. Because if you just get really mad because someone's saying something you don't like and you walk away, that's not emotional regulation. So critical thinking also comes with emotional regulation when you do stuff like this.
Absolutely.
And that is, again, something we don't have enough of right now. Even for us millennials. Ugh, I hate saying that word. Zillennials. I'm going to go with zillennials. That's what I am. I'm a zillennial. And
I'm older than you.
No, you're still a zillennial.
You sure?
You are.
Okay. I'm too old
You're
to know what I am.
You're between the Gen X and the millennials. So we're the zillennials.
There you go.
So it's the thing that a lot of us weren't taught emotional regulation because we were just told to stuff our emotions, stop crying, or, get a spanking, and, whether it was a wooden spoon or a leather belt or whatever it was, for your family, because there was something. My grandma had a pencil that she would smack our hand with. It was an angel, believe it or not. Like a really long pencil, like 15 inches with this cute little angel on top.
But the angel hurt, huh?
Yeah. It's like, dang, grandma, savage. These are things that your kids need to learn how to do. And emotional regulation is definitely a part of that. And that's a huge part of critical thinking. So some fun activity ideas for this part of the subject is hosting a family debate night with fun topics. I can see this in your house.
Oh my goodness. When I was writing this up, I was like, why have we never done this? Like I thought about it.
Just not officially.
Well, it happens naturally because I have one that will debate anything and everything.
Well,
so it does happen.
Just one's a grown up.
This is true. It's true. He gets it honestly, but to do it in a
structured
planned out, structured way is just so important.
Another activity is solving logical puzzles together as a group, or even just puzzling. Like a real legit puzzle, not ones that are all the same size or all the same shape. Yeah. So those kinds of things are super helpful to do as a family. And one of the recommendations is a critical thinking workbook. They have like activity books. All right. So we have a couple of resources, some additional resources, and some practical tips for you. So, besides the resources and recommendations we've mentioned above, of course, the biggest resource and tip that we can give you is community. Community.
Yeah. We can't really say that one enough.
No, not at all. Like you can't do life alone. God didn't make us to. And he told us to be in community and do fellowship with others. And so doing any of these things with a community will make it that much funner, except for funner, like Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, except for funner.
There we go with the movie quotes again.
Here it is. And just to have, with those homeschoolers and people that are learning the same things or want to learn the same things, you guys have similar values, all of those things, come together with your tribe and do the things.
Absolutely.
Do the things. That's the biggest tip we can give you is to do the things but with all the people that you love.
Absolutely. Go check out those books that we recommended or those boxes and different things. Try them, but don't miss out on that community piece. Do grab a friend, grab a couple friends, do some of these things together. I think when people hear homeschoolers, they think that is exactly what we do. We do school at home all the time, alone, with just our family. And that is so not the true picture of what homeschooling is. It really does involve your community. So if you don't have that, find it.
And that's why these unconventional subjects are important in an actual daily know-how thing, because they're not going to get that if they're not typically, depends on the kind of school you're in, but they're not typically going to get that in a regular school, like a public school. So this really just gives your kids that upper hand, really, to be ready and prepared. And it's really just part of our parenting that we're supposed to do. But it's fun subjects that you can use in your homeschooling.
Well, and think of it this way, and this may be, I don't know, maybe an unpopular opinion for some, but I'm going to say it anyways.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do here, right?
We do.
Okay. So yes, math is important, right? History, all of the subjects that we teach our kids or that our kids learn in school, they are important. But not every kid is going to use those things, those subjects in their everyday lives, right? If they're not going to be something in the science world, they're not going to be using all of those science skills that they learned or math skills, whatever it is, right? All of our kids are not going to use everything that they learned.
Once used the Pythagorean theorem ever in my life.
I'm shocked.
Ever. Not once. Okay. I couldn't even tell you what it is now, but I know I had to learn it in school.
You had to learn it.
I had to learn it.
And you've never used it.
Never.
So, no, I'm not saying that we don't teach our kids these things. Don't hear me wrong. But what I am saying is these other things, these
unconditional, or
I almost said unconditional. These what is it?
Conventional.
Thank you. These unconventional things that we've just talked about, these life skills, are the things that they are going to use in their everyday life.
Right. I mean, the Pythagorean theorem, let's take that for example. You're going to do it in your unit, but you're not going to spend from the ages of 5 until 17 doing it like you are these things. I'm not talking about you have to do all 6 of these things every day.
Right. Of course not. Right? Of course not.
So, but you're going to be working on all of these things the entire time that they're in school.
Yeah.
So it's very important to do the things, even though you're teaching the subjects. And sometimes it's almost more important to do the unconventional subjects because that's what's going to serve them.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think that's why a lot of people have turned to unschooling. You know, I think that's why it's kind of popular right now is because it is more life skill based than anything else. I mean, they do learning, but without any curriculum books. And so I think that's why it's kind of a popular version of school right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay, well, so as we wrap up today's episode on unique school subjects for homeschoolers, I hope this inspires you to explore new and meaningful topics with your kids. Remember, you don't have to do it all, like she just said. Start small, follow their interest, and enjoy the process. Let them be a part of that. Find out what they're interested in. Homeschooling gives you the freedom to create a one-of-a-kind education. That's one of the reasons we love it so much, right? That is a gift to both you and your children that you will cherish. Thanks for listening, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on some fun things that you all enjoy doing with your kids that are unconventional.
Yeah, make sure to go onto our social medias and post what you guys have been doing and show us any of the things that you've tried or if any of these sparked something in your kids.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool to hear about. Make sure that you like, subscribe, review, do all the things for the podcast. We're trying to get it out there. Remember that we are doing speaking engagements and we are super excited to, work on that part of the podcast as well. So make sure to do all the things.
Do all the things.
All right. Chris is going to pray us out.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much, as always, for everything that you do for us. Thank you for loving us unconditionally, even though we always don't deserve it. We just thank you for the blessing of the children that you have given us and the opportunity to teach them, whether it is teaching them all day in our homes or teaching them for the hours that we have them. We thank you for that opportunity, and we just pray that you would show us their interest and the things that they love and the things that they're good at and the gifts that you have given them. Help it to just shine so that we can take that light and make it shine brighter and use it to glorify you. And we pray this all in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Hey, bestie.